With the ranked update finally out, and you only being able to play solo or duos in ranked, there's never been a better time to learn how to get so good at Deadlock, your team doesn't matter. That's what we're going to talk about in this episode of Shotty's Yap Session. And if you guys are new here, this is a series where I yap about a topic, and you turn me on in the background while you do something else, or if you really want to, you can watch some mid-gameplay. Let's get right into it. Now first, a lot of people aren't utilizing the way they changed matchmaking. When you get in a game now, instead of just being right on zip lines, you get to change your hero if you want, you get to see your team comp and your team's team comp, and you can change what lane you're in. This is really powerful because you may get into a matchup where, let's say, you're playing Viper, but you don't want to play Viper into maybe 3 stuns, Ivy, Abrams, something along those lines, right? Just because if you try to play her, you basically have to buy unstoppable second item or you don't get to play the game. So instead of dealing with that, or instead of having to counterplay to that, you can just change what character you are. So you want to be looking at the lanes and the matchups and trying to fill what your team doesn't have. Because in a solo queue environment, your decisions matter more than everything else. Because a lot of people try too hard to say, oh, well, my team should do this or my team should do that. The thing is, when you're solo queuing, you're the common denominator. All you can control is yourself. So you want to take as many things into your control as possible. And that's the goal of a video like this. Now, we're starting with general tips and we're going to move towards role-specific tips later on. But to start off the general, you got to understand that your lane that you pick sets the tone. Right? Let's say you're facing a carry. Your job into a carry is do not feed them or stomp them as much as possible. Those are your 2 options. Stomp them so they don't get to scale very well and they become a very easy gank. Because if you don't understand what I mean by that, if a carry gets underfed right away, and let's say your mid lane, they get 4k farm ahead of the carry on the enemy team, if they get that far ahead, they're able to gank and shut down that carry farming pretty much the rest of the game. And if you've ever played carry yourself, you know what it's like. You lose lane, then every time you blink, there's a Haze or a Calico or somebody in your jungle while you're trying to farm that blows you up before you can react. So you want to be able to cause something like that. Or even just something as simple as if you're facing a support heavy lane, maybe a tank and support, your goal is to try not to take too long of trades with them. Because in a longer trade, they heal it all up, you don't really get any real damage, and between them healing and the healing troop, all the damage you do is almost nothing. Same thing with a spirit nuker lane. If you're facing a lane with people who do a lot of damage really quickly, your job is either maybe I want to buy spirit resilience, or maybe I want to buy spirit shielding, or I don't want to take short trades with them. I want to take prolonged trades because in a prolonged trade, I have more damage than they do because they have to wait for their cooldowns. They're pretty much all or nothing. So you want to build around what you're facing so that you can even make it to the 10-minute mark. Because some people lose or give up by the 10-minute mark. They lost maybe 5 deaths in lane, 6 deaths in lane, and they just assume, well, it's over. I threw, GG. When a lot of people also don't realize, I would say 90% of games are won with mid-boss. Pretty much. There's another 10% that's like, oh, well, oh, they fight really good or this and that, or maybe it was just a stomp on one end or the other. But for the most part, you can't win a game without mid-boss. Every game, especially in lower elo, is a mid-boss game. It's not just war of attrition, right? So someone has to get mid-boss, someone has to win off that, and someone has to play the mid-boss properly. So even if you're behind, and I have a story to tell you guys in a little while about that from my placement matches, but even if you're behind, mid-boss is the great equalizer, which is another thing. If you're solo queuing or if you're duo queuing, you want to be able to think about what kind of setups, what kind of team comps do really well into mid-boss. Let's say you guys have Ivy, Lash, Dynamo, Wraith, like all these things. If you guys ever lose a mid-boss, that's insane. Like Wraith, Viper, Ivy, I don't know, Abrams, Dynamo. I'm going to start naming 17 characters. Just characters that are very, very powerful at fighting a mid-boss. If you have them on your team, you could even force mid-bosses when you guys don't have any pressure. Because if you force it, if we have real gun damage and we can kill the tower quick enough, it's free. Because if they try to contest us, we have such a better team comp that there's nothing they can do if anyone has remotely a brain. So in lower elo, and if you're below, well, I guess right now technically Oracle because the placements, the way they changed, but as the ranks spread out, I would say below probably Phantom. Below Phantom, you're pretty much just trying to play off of mid-boss, trying to win the game like that. Because most people don't know how to utilize a lead. Most people don't know how to end a game. So if you give your team plenty of opportunities with mid-boss, it gives you a much higher chance than, oh, let me just run at the enemy team and pray I get a kill. Now, another thing about lane is Guardian doesn't matter. Please. Dude, I was playing a game the other day, and it was my 5th placement match. I placed first day, obviously, because, I don't know, I had to sweat it, because I was curious what I'd place. But I had a guy that ran it down. We won Rift. Me and my team went to Rift, and he kept saying, guys, come on, let's go get this Guardian on yellow. Let's get this Guardian on yellow. And he ran it down for Guardian while we got Rift and died multiple times. It's like, we need to understand in lane phase and even after lane phase, Guardian isn't that important. Guardian is so weak after lane phase that you can walk in tower as a decent M1 hero, even if it's not an M1 hero. You use it as a spirit nuker if you want it. If you just walk in and shoot it, it pops. So in lane phase, don't overvalue your Guardian. Now, of course, don't give it to them for free. Don't just throw or say, well, guys, I'm going for Sinners. You can have it, right? Don't throw, but don't die for it. Guardian isn't worth dying 2 to 3 times for to protect it, just for them to get it anyways. So I would rather you guys just end lane phase, let them take your Guardian, use your mic and say, oh, guys, they took Guardian over here. They're probably going to be roaming, play safe. And then that's it. Don't even care about Guardian. Now, there is a little bit more specifics to when you should leave lane, who should leave lane, but we talk a little bit more about that in the role specific. But just make sure you're calming a lot. Calm everything. A lot of people don't realize that with this new ranked, the way people calm and the way people play is completely different than the old ranked. Because in the old rank, you'd get lucky if you wouldn't get someone on your team that says, guys, it's an alpha. Who cares? I'm here to have fun. But now in ranked, everyone's pretty much there to sweat, which is much more enjoyable. And the good thing about that is you're able to calm the whole time and they actually listen. You're able to play with a team. You're able to strategize and things like that, which honestly, one of my favorite things about the update. The atmosphere in all the matches is so much better. I hated Deadlock for a while because it didn't feel competitive. It felt like I was just running around, either stomping or getting stomped. And all my games was pretty much won by the matchmaking on which idiots were on which team, you know? But thankfully, every game pretty much feels pretty hard fought. Now, let's say you start winning the game, or let's say you start losing. The way you build should depend on how the game is going. Let me give you an example. If I'm 10k above everyone on the enemy team, I'm not building damage. I'm building almost everything tanky. I'm building cheat death. I'm building frenzy. I'm building every leech, vampiric, whatever I need to buy to make sure I do not die ever again. Because if you get a lead like that, your job is never die. Because yes, there are a lot of comeback souls in Deadlock, but without you making a mistake, there's no real way for people to get those comeback souls if you're 10k ahead, right? Because 10k ahead is such a lead that you just blow up if I look at you. So your goal is make sure that if you get a lead, you secure it by never letting them kill you again. Whether that mean you play a little bit more with your team, you deathball a little bit more, you build a lot more tanky items, because just buying Spellbreaker, for example, is such a gigantic game changer for most matches, and it can completely change your deaths from maybe 5 to 15. So playing around survivability. Now, if you're behind, it ends up getting flipped. A lot of people end up thinking, oh, I need to buy defense when they're behind. But if someone's ahead of you, chances are there's no amount of defense that's going to save you. You need to start praying your support buys curse. You need to start praying that the enemy carry or whoever's fed starts playing too aggressive. You want to try and put them on a 2-minute timer. You want to try and kill them and get their bag from them, right? So the only way to do that is building damage. You want to get as much damage as possible so that you can actually have a chance to kill them. Now, of course, if you're facing someone that genuinely just one-shots you, you need something to counteract it, but you don't want to overly build defense thinking that will save you. For example, if I'm playing someone like Viper, as you guys should know if you've seen my channel before, I like Viper a lot. But the big separator for Viper is if you get Unstop or Indom and if you don't. Because Viper isn't getting defense items for the most part. Viper has like 2,000 health at max build. So it doesn't really matter how much defense you get. Everyone pops you regardless. But something like flat damage reduction like Spellbreaker, something like anti-CC so people can't catch me, like Unstop or Indom, that changes it, right? And if I don't get that, it doesn't matter how much damage I do because I blow up. So it all depends on your specific character and what you're looking to do. But in general, if you're behind and you are a damage dealing character, you want to buy more damage items. If you're support, you want to try to buy more counter pick items. For example, slowing hex, for example, curse, things like that, right? or even just rescue beam if your teammates are stupid. But we'll get more into that. Now, I talked earlier about how most games are decided by mid-boss. Let me give you guys a good example. I was playing yesterday, or maybe I think it was a few days ago, actually, like 2 days ago. But I was playing, and we sat there, and most of us were dead, and 3 of my teammates said, you know what? We have a better mid-boss contest. They're getting mid-boss. Let's go for it. They went in there, and I respawned late. I knew I couldn't make it to the mid-boss fight. So instead, what I did is Rift was coming up, and I solo went to Rift. We were, I think, 20k behind at the start of that fight. In that fight, they parried, got mid-boss, stole mid-boss, and the entire game was over. We beat them in one push when they were stomping us the first 20 minutes of the game, first 25 minutes of the game. We got that mid-boss, we pushed Rift Troopers to their base, and then another big mistake they made, which we'll talk about, is they kept fighting us when we pushed to their base, so we won the entire game off of one mid-boss steal. Now, you might be asking, what do you mean they kept fighting you and that threw them the game? If you guys don't know, when you kill the patron, when you get the patron to half health, it takes off of their respawn timers. So what would happen is a lot of sweatier teams try to play around that, right? And my team was pretty competent. I think we were all like Ascendant players pretty much. We were pretty competent, and we all sat there and said, okay, look, hold on, let's just sit here and wait for them. They come out, they tried to fight us, and they staggered out of spawn 1 by 1 or 2 by 2, and we would get a pick, get a pick, get a pick, get a pick over and over and over again. And then by the time we got to their base, they started coming out of spawn. So we tried to down their patron as fast as possible. The reason why we downed as fast as possible is if we kill them before we down it, they get the cooldown reduction. They get to respawn a little faster. If we kill them after we down it, they don't get it. So we ignored them, let them fight us, and let us take a little bit of damage, maybe lose a rejuve or two. And the second it got halved, we killed every single one of them. And then there was nothing they could do. They had to just sit there in the respawn timer and watch us end game because there was nothing they could do. So if you're on the receiving end of it, please do not fight if they're going to half the patron. If you know they're going to half it no matter what, do not go fighting. Wait for one last full team fight in pit or whatever before you go fight. Because fighting while you know that no matter what, they have a Viper, they have a Wraith, they have this, they have that, 6 of them are alive. If you know they're going to get it no matter what, don't go down there. You only go down there with a full stack of team, because if you don't, best case scenario, you scare them a little bit, they get it, but then they just leave. Worst case scenario, much more likely, they get it, they murder you, they murder your team, because then it's a 5v6 and then the game's over. Now, a few more little things. Parrying and meleeing. I cannot tell you how many disgusting clips I have of me parrying in front of a minion and just getting a free pick and winning the lane off of one fight. Because if you know how to farm better than somebody, or how to farm at least equally as good as somebody, one kill in lane can be the difference between winning and losing lane. So you want to, first of all, if you're going to parry, if you're ever going to parry, try to make it a dash parry. You want to hit your dash button before you parry or while you're parrying, because let's say worst case scenario, you dash and they don't melee and you don't get a parry off, you're far enough away from them where you can move a second time or third time and you can avoid the heavy melee that they're going to try and do after you parried. The only bad thing about dash parrying is you can't guarantee 2 melees, but it's not the end of the world. One good dash parry and you can get 1 melee off and probably a few good hits, which is more than enough. And if you sit there and wait, most people parry right out of waking up from a parry. So if they do that, you just melee them again and then it's free. So if you see a team that likes to melee minions from a far distance or just quick melee them a lot, try to dash in front of it, get that melee off and get a free kill. Now, the other thing is, oh my goodness, please stop meleeing when people are one shot. I probably put up the clip already. I was playing with one of my boys and this Warden and the 7, I run into their tower, parry the 7, murder him. Then Warden, I get one shot from the tower. Warden just starts quick meleeing me. I promise you guys, there's a 0% chance someone who's one shot is not going to desperation parry. So please stop quick meleeing people that are one shot, people that you could just shoot or use an ability on or let them get away, right? Don't die for it. Please don't do it, because you have everything to lose while I have everything to gain if I'm the one parrying, because I'm so low that if you breathe at me, I die. So the only chance I I have of winning is me parrying you. So you don't want to give me that opportunity. Now, this should be a good time for the middle of the gap. And if you guys don't know, this is the part of the video where I talk to the audience. And if you guys want to skip it, I always leave timestamps. But I just want to start with the usual. I love you guys. Thank you for watching the video up to this point. Also, if you are watching this, please subscribe. How's a man supposed to hit 100K subs, dude? I'm trying to hit 100K this year, or at least by next year, you know? But I love you guys. Speaking of that too, if you guys didn't know, I created a way for people to get better aim with less than 30 minutes a day and learn everything that I've coached over 2,000 players in one simple spot. So if you guys want to check something like that out, and if you ever felt like your aim is off or you just didn't know where to start with aim, I got just the thing for you. And already 20 people have joined, so go secure your spot. And the price increases at 50 members, but everyone who joins at the lower price stays at that price forever. So if you guys want to join, check it out. And the 1-year version is at a super big discount. So if you really want to take your aim seriously, that'd be perfect for you guys. Anyways, I love you guys so much. I really hope you enjoy this video. I hope this video does well because, I don't know, I haven't been wanting to upload Deadlock recently. I haven't even really want to upload at all recently, but I'm trying, you know, I'm trying to get something out there, trying to help people out. I may also make a second channel. So if you guys watch Kovacs videos or Valorant videos or anything, I may link my second channel in the description so you guys can go check that out. But it'll pretty much just be AIM and Kovacs videos from now on there. Anyways, love you guys. Let's get back to the video. Now first, let's start with frontlining. If you're a frontline, for example, Billy, Geist is pretty much a frontline, contrary to popular belief. Abrams, characters like that, characters that are tankier and want to be at the forefront of the fight, there's only a few main things you guys want to think about. First of all, your main goal is never die. You don't want to be a Billy with 10 deaths. Just doesn't make any sense because once you're dead, you basically have no use. Your only use is pretty much being a pest, right? A pest that can't be killed, but also a pest that can't be ignored. Because if you guys have ever experienced it, let's say, this is also why Victor's such a good carry, because he fulfills frontline as well. Have you ever dealt with a Victor that will go in your backline and just run it down at your team? And if you all don't focus him at once, he never dies. And if he does finally die, he just ults. And by the time he ults, his team comes and helps him. And then you just never get to kill him. And then he rinses and repeats that over and over and over again. And he's unkillable. So that's kind of what you want to look to do. You want to be the biggest pest possible. And you want to always be there in front of the fight trying to draw attention, right? Now, if you're in the lane phase, what I recommend a lot of tank characters to do is try to lane with a support and try to lane against whatever the strongest enemy lane is. The reason why I say this is you can't control your randoms, but if you lane with a support, you're probably the strongest lane in the game because let's say a Billy Rem. A Billy Rem shouldn't be dying. Respectfully, a Billy Rem should not be dying in lane because there's no characters that do enough damage. And if you decide to try and counter build them like Heal Bane or something, they can just keep buying more stuff and counter build your counter build. And it becomes a cycle of suffering, right? So if you take the hardest lane, you go from risking a random on your team facing the hardest lane and throwing and feeding them and losing the game versus you take the hardest lane and worst case scenario, you leave lane neutral instead of having any kills or stomping or anything like that. That's a far better outcome than giving the hardest lane to a bad player or a random you can't trust. So for building, you want to think about high health and healing, right? And only a few damage items because you don't want to be useless. No matter what, the common denominator for solo queuing is you want to be a character that does damage, right? Every character can do damage if you build them properly. So you want to build damage no matter what. There's a 0% chance you don't want damage on every single character and every single role you play, even if it's support. Now, the support you play to build damage on will have to depend, but we'll get into that. But you don't want all of your damage completely reliant on your team. So tankiness, survivability with damage, and a minor focus on damage, not a big focus. Now, when you're playing, you want to think about taking pressure and engaging off of pressure. So if you guys are fighting, first of all, you should be at every single fight if possible. And honestly, for almost every role in the game, I'd recommend Trophy Collector, unless you're at the rank you think you deserve. Because if you're fighting below the rank you think you deserve, or let's say you always overperform your lobbies, I don't think Trophy Collector can be beat in terms of items. Trophy Collector is just one of the best items because if you're better than the lobby you're in, you should know how to fight consistently enough that Trophy Collector's max stacks by 25 minutes. You have tons of range on your abilities, and you're pretty much impossible to stop from scaling. So you just scale and scale and damage and damage and damage and damage till you're unstoppable. So if possible, for most characters, I would buy Trophy Collector. If you're not a carry, so if you're not side laning, I would buy Trophy Collector. So that means most lobbies should have 3 to 4 people with Trophy Collector. The biggest thing I see with Frontlines is what a lot of them will do wrong is they just run it down. They just run straight down and they don't care about pressure with their team, fighting with their team, and then they pop. But the thing is, you don't realize how powerful a Frontline is until you have damage with you or distractions with you. For example, if I have a Vindicta on my team and I am, let's say, Billy, if I'm running it down with Vindicta, the problem is the enemy team cannot ignore her, because if you've ever seen how much damage a Vindicta does with any amount of stacks, it's impossible to ignore. You blow up before you have a chance to react, which means they have to choose which one do we focus on. And if they don't focus on you, you're like a pest that keeps poking damage, poking damage, poking damage, poking damage. And if they do focus on you, they blow up to your DPS behind you. So you want to think about a sustained damage kind of playstyle where you're just constantly fighting, constantly staying in the fight, and just being an opportunity maker for your team. And you want to balance between pressuring the front line and diving the squishies in the back line. Because in this game, a lot of people can blow up to a tank, right? Let's say you've probably experienced it. Let's use Vindicta as an example again. If you've ever played Vindicta, you felt the feeling of a Billy just walking up to you. You don't have your 2 up, and then Billy just walks up to you and just slams you 7 times in a row, and there's nothing you can do. It's like you couldn't have done enough damage to stop him. Your stake doesn't stop him, and he just walks at you and just spams buttons and you blow up. So you don't want to do that always though, because if you do, you just become a free kill. So just balancing between the two. Next, a roamer. For roamers, for example, Calico, Viper, honestly. Viper is a carry as well, but gosh, dude, Viper, Trophy Collector, and just perma roaming with Stand Mastery, amazing. Genuinely amazing. I don't think you should be taking a solo lane as Viper. But anyways, any character that can roam well, Viper, Vindicta, Calico, Apollo's not bad. Just anyone who can go in, get a quick pick, and leave. All of those characters, first of all, of course, you should be buying Trophy Collector. That's like your whole play style. And roam early, roam often. The reason why I say that is, let's say you're in lane with a 7 and you're a roamer. You don't want to be there taking up that 7's farm. You want to let that 7 get solo lane as much as possible, and you can get boxes and let them solo lane and get still similar souls to what they get. And it's just a much better wealth distribution, right? And what you'll see in higher rank lobbies is people will let you solo lane as a carry if they're a support maybe or a roamer, and they'll just disappear from lane. You get full lane, and then they'll come back with either a kill or a ton of boxes, and you guys are at the same farm, and you're both ahead of the enemy laners, which means at that point, then you can just kill the enemy lane, end lane, go for Guardian, and then start perma roaming after that. So roam early, roam often. Roaming is one of the easiest ways to actually be able to control a match, because if you don't roam, you're at completely the mercy of your teammates. If your teammates don't know how to fight, or if they're going to lose lane or this or that, if you don't roam, there's no way you can help. There's no way you can control that, and you just have to pray, oh God, please don't throw. Now, after lane phase, your job is to try to pressure the enemy carry as much as possible and pressure their jungle as much as possible. So the way that would look is you go to mid wave, reset mid wave, so you always have pressure pushing into the enemy team's side, and then go into the jungle, left side, right side, whatever, and pressure. Now, you want to be often looking for, let's say, someone on doubles, or someone low health farming a Sinners, or maybe a solo farming carry. And you want to look for those opportunities and try to gank lanes based on those opportunities. So let's say you have a 7 on your team and they have a Wraith on their team. 7 and Wraith are laning against each other, let's say, and you come over and you say, hey, 7, let's gank this Wraith. You gank the Wraith, and then you just win, because then you split the souls with 7. 7 gets lane prio too, so 7 can go steal their jungle if he wants, and you get another Trophy Collector stack, which means you get to keep farming even more, and the cycle just repeats. And it creates such massive leads so quickly if you can do that properly. Now, roaming doesn't mean don't farm, but I would advise against taking camps too much. The reason why I say that is there are a lot of boxes on the map. A lot of people don't get the boxes, especially if they're not a roamer. And if possible, you can take the enemy's farm, and you want to be mostly looking for kills more than camps. Camps are mostly for the characters that have to side lane, for example, a 7. So avoid, and this goes for supports as well, avoid taking too much farm from the map, because every bit of farm you take from our side of the map is farm that you guys lose on your carry. Now, for the fight style or the play style, it's mostly just quick in and out damage. You see someone on a Sinners, you go in, you pop your load, and you get out. And then you reset, do it again. Reset, do it again. And that's just kind of the whole cycle. It's reset midwave, go look for an opportunity, reset midwave, look for an opportunity over and over and over again, and just farming in between. And you still get decent farm too, because you are resetting midwave if someone else isn't there already, and you should be getting kills pretty easily. Now, for supports, you want to mostly focus on building items like Slowing Hex, Rescue Beam, Curse, things like that, that don't actually do as much damage, but they are countering people on the enemy team. Because it'll happen where, let's say, one character on the enemy team gets out of hand. If you just buy a curse for them and say, guys, I cursed him, shoot, 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 you just win. It's that simple a lot of the time. A lot of people don't realize how good one counter buy can be for a match. Even if it's just Phantom Strike, whatever, something just to counter people is gigantic for winning a game. And for playstyle, you want to think more about lurking near your strongest or your dumbest player. Now, strongest or dumbest, why? Strongest, because if you lurk near your strongest player, you can guarantee they never die and they can always scale and just keep getting stronger, and become so much of a problem for the enemy team that they need 4 of them even to kill you guys. And it also allows for your strongest player to play a little bit more aggro, limit test a little bit more, and get away with a lot more dumb things because they have you. And it allows for a lot more opportunities being made, a lot more picks, things like that. Now, for the dumbest player, you're easily able to stop them from throwing a game because monkey together strong, right? A stupid play by yourself is just a stupid play. A stupid play with a group of people is a plan. So try to go with them. Even if you think the idea is stupid, keep your distance, maybe have a rescue beam ready, but just try to support them. Try to keep them alive. Try to prevent them from, themselves. And build damage when you can. You want to try to still be useful to your team in terms of poke and things like that, while also having utility, right? Now, of course, if you're a character like Dynamo and things like that, your job is hit 4. So getting as strong as possible or as good as possible at hitting 4 is all you care about. So duration extender, refresher, things like that. R4 button is all that matters. Greater cooldown, things like that. But if you're more of a utility kind of support, like Page a little bit more, you want to try to maybe get greater expansion because you're trying to get stuns. Or sometimes I see, I think it's escalating exposure, because I'm pretty sure it works on your dragons. I don't know if you should do that. That's pretty expensive, unless you're really stomping the lobby. But just some kind of debuff, like every time you hit someone with spirit damage, there goes their bullet resist, or there goes their fire rate, and things like that. And if you're laning with your carry, this one's really important. Leave. If you're laning with the carry, don't abandon them. Don't just let them die. But say, okay, 7, you're good here. I'll be right back. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. Or I'm going to gank this lane. Or I'm going to run these boxes. So you can get them more farm. So you can keep them up. And so they can scale. But please don't abandon them. Oh my God. Bro, there's so many games I've seen people try to do this. And they just forget their teammate. Now, if you're the teammate on the receiving end, learn how to play solo in tower, please. Playing solo in tower is so easy. Even if they come parrying and everything, you just play ring around the rosy. You just go hide in veil, hide here, hide in the sideline, hide there, climb up on the roof. Like what I do every time someone tries to dive, and if I'm solo laning, I get on the roof when I'm solo laning, kill the minions from the roof, and if they come in and parry, I jump off the roof, wrap back around, climb back up, and just do it over and over and over again until they die or until they give up, because they can't catch me, right? They need a lot of CC to stop me, which it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So solo laning isn't that hard unless your enemy team is extremely coordinated, which isn't going to happen. You're not Eternus. You're not like top 500. You're not any of that. They're not coordinated. I'm telling you. Just doesn't happen. And now finally, for what everyone wanted, how to play carry. Now, carry unfortunately is kind of boring role to talk about. You play PvE. Like if you guys saw people talked about, oh, the PvE game mode got leaked. And then the top comments will be 7 players had early access. Like that's kind of how carry plays, right? Your job is farm. You're playing for scale. You're not looking for opportunities in fights early on. You're not looking to do a ton of damage in the first 20 minutes. Your job is disappear, and farm. Come back with 40k farm, right? Blow up and act like you ain't know nobody. But your main job is just getting a ton of damage, stacking up a ton of items, and knowing where your spikes are. For example, when I get max ult on 7 and escalating exposure, you'll never see me farming ever again. My job is hitting 4 at people aggressively. And if 4 doesn't work, hit 1 and 3. Occasionally the 2, you know? That's your job. But you need to know where that purchase is. Like which purchase, which item, which AP investment is that number for you that says, all right, there we go, we're fighting team. But until you get to that point, whether your team is losing, whether your team is winning, for the most part, you sit there, farm, go for boxes, farm, go for camps, farm, go for walker, and take every opportunity to get as much farm as possible, even if you have to steal from the enemy team side, whatever you have to do. And please do not die with bags. Don't play aggressively when you have a bag on you. Spend all your souls before you do anything stupid, because limit testing is fine, but limit testing with a 2000 bag and ruining the whole game isn't fine. So make sure you're limit testing correctly. Now, if you're laning against an enemy carry, and honestly, if you're laning in general, most people don't understand, don't push past the midline. So where the bridge is on your side, don't push past it, because once you get past that, you're pretty much in victim territory. Let's say they're in church, or let's say they're in by the sinners, right? If there's an enemy team or an enemy nearby, you're dead if you push past the midline. You're going to see the Avengers assemble in your lane, and you're going to wonder, guys, what happened? I didn't know. I keep getting ganked over here. But the problem is, you guys had no one on map. We had no vision. What are you doing up there? And the thing is, the risk to reward isn't there. Best case scenario, you go on their side of the map, you get maybe like 3 more minions that were pushed up, and you die and lose 4 minion waves. So it's like, was it worth it? You know? So play for scale, play safe, play on your side of the map so you don't risk dying. Now, to build on the waiting for your spike, you also, once you wait on your spike, once you get that spike, your job is fishing for picks or looking for opportunities for us to get a mid boss. Because remember, we talked about how mid boss pretty much wins the whole game. You want to be looking for that opportunity to get the mid boss to win the whole game. So once you get strong enough, you're looking for a pick. Once you get the pick, all right, team, let's go down there. We got 2 or 3 picks. Let's go down there. Let them come fight us. GG. And then you win. Now, Victor specifically, bro, Victor has a really powerful ability to become a pest. Because he's such a great blend of carry and frontline, he's able to, and you're able to if you play him, make a call and say, team, go for a mid boss. Start getting mid boss. I'm going to go for their base. I'm just going to run it down as hard as possible. I have my ult. Maybe I have refresher, and I'm 10k souls above everyone on the enemy team. They have to respond to me, because if they don't, we get base guardians, we get half, we have patron, we get shrines, we get everything. So if they don't respond, they lose the game. You make that call, you start running it down. By the time you're at, let's say, a walker or let's say base guardians, they start coming for you. Then your team gets it half. They hear the roar, but it's too late, because if they divert resources to you, they lose mid boss. If they divert resources to mid boss, they lose the game. So they have to decide which one, and it's almost a guaranteed mid boss in an uncoordinated team, and no teams will pretty much be coordinated because 6 stacking doesn't exist anymore in ranked. So it's just free. Now, for lane phase, when you're a carry, your only job is really don't let them farm you, because if you get farmed, you end up getting outscaled. Then the mid lane and the gankers and all that will just come gank you every time you're farming. You blow up, the game's over. You never get a chance to scale. But if you end lane neutral or up a little bit, if someone tries to gank you, most people will lose the 1v1, and a lot of the times the 2v1, if it's bad enough, it's bad enough of a gap, or if you're a strong enough character. For example, a Wraith, if you try to dive a Wraith, you lose the 1v1 100% of the time, even if you're ahead on souls, because she just hits 4, and then she hits 1 17 times, and you're dead. But once you get fed, game is pretty simple from there. Focus on getting picks, play behind your front line, and really focus on your positioning, because you're target number 1. You're who everyone wants, because they know, guys, the only person who's killing me is Wraith. The only person who's killing me is 7. And you want to make sure that they don't get that opportunity. It's also why I really like cheat death on a lot of carries, but you didn't hear that from me. For example, I love it on Geist. Geist, it's so funny on, dude. This isn't, like, I wouldn't actually recommend it in real games, but for comedy's sake, or if you're just way better than people you're playing against, gosh, it's so funny. Now, one thing, speaking about carries, is M1 carries are extremely powerful. Not just they're powerful in terms of balancing, because they are honestly overtuned, in my opinion, but they also fill up a gigantic gap because most people only buy Spirit Resilience, right? There is no Spellbreaker for gun damage, right? And Metal Skin works, but Metal Skin only lasts for so long. And if you're decent enough a player, you just fully disengage. Now, of course, if you're like Haze or something and you sleep dagger somebody and then you hit 4, you're cooked if they Metal Skin. But there's even counterplay to that. If they Metal Skin, you also have things like Merc Mag and things like that. Or there's such great hybrid characters like Wraith, like Viper, that do such equal spirit and gun damage that if you try to counter them, you can't. So, in my opinion, M1 characters are some of the best that you can play, but they require aim. And a lot of Deadlock players don't really care about their aim, or they think they're just doomed to have bad aim forever, or they just don't know where to start or how to improve their aim. But lucky for you, I've coached over 2,000 players, and I've recently created the easiest and best step-by-step way to improve your aim with less than 30 minutes a day. So, if you want to check it out, the price increases every 50 members, but the price you join at, you keep forever. So, join up and never let your aim hold you back in any game ever again. And after you join, check out this video. I love you guys. Have a good one. God bless you.